question time is neither, unless one of you wants to speak as a member of the public, for some reason, no, so that's irrelevant. Apologies for absence we've had. Are we happy to accept the 3 we've had?
Yep.
Do personal and disposable, disclosable, pecuniary interests, any?
No.
No. Any new DPR?
No.
Is there anything on the agenda we feel should be discussed in private? No? Right, the minutes. I wasn't here, I've read them. Are you happy with the minutes and ready to approve them? Yeah. Do I have to get them proposed in a second? Yes. Somebody proposed, Rachel, Charles second, all those, everybody. Grants. Rich, you want to talk about the rolling list of grants for the year?
Well, yeah, I mean, I suppose I didn't want to say much more than that. Just to say how much we've spent and for so many deserving causes, and I was impressed that this committee kept very close to within budget. We ended up, there was one of the budgets where we got it down to 0 pence. However, one of the awards, one of the people we gave a grant to gave us money back, which is virtually unheard of.
They didn't use it all and they gave it back?
They gave it
Oh,
back.
how honest. Who was that?
That was Brockholes Village Hall for
Good
their
for
audit
them.
thing, yeah.
Well, they're what, sorry?
For their
Energy
energy
audit.
audit of the village hall. So that was very nice, yes.
We should send them a thank you letter. So can you send them a, sorry, can you attach to your list of planning letters a letter to them saying how grateful the committee is?
Okay.
Pleased as we're able to decide to support.
Yes. So that's that. Then we've got the grant application.
Can I have a side question?
Oh yeah,
I'm
sorry.
assuming we're getting people querying now, even though we're not open again till September. I just wonder what's the process in the interim? Because have we put the new forms on the website?
Yeah, they are. We will have a grant outside of the cycle. I think I was probably meant to put it on this one, but I forgot, for the food and drink festival.
Right.
So we'll have to put that on the next one. That's right, isn't it, Jen?
I think we also agreed
That's
to.
I can't remember now.
He got in contact, didn't he?
Did we actually get an application?
No, he didn't get an application, but I haven't chased it. So I think there's likely to be one from them.
I think also
They're a
Doug's.
business as well, you know. They're not a charity.
They're not for profit.
Yeah, well, let's have a look at the application.
Well, we'll have to
You
look.
know, I
Yes,
think
we'll
it's a
look.
worthy thing to
Let's not
support.
judge it in advance. Let's see what they're asking for and who it is that's asking. But in general, we also, I think ages ago, Doug's agreed that although we were going to take it to 2 times a year, we would make exceptions for exceptional cases. But, you know.
I mean, from an officer's point of view, it does mean that the work comes in big lumps, and then like this meeting is going to be potentially a very short meeting because there isn't this huge amount of grant applications. So there is that kind of side of things. It is a sort of February to March is a lot of work.
So you're in the same position as Jen, really, that you're almost needing to take extra time off around Christmas because you might be doing extra days January, February, March.
Well, I mean, it'll be easier for me now that we've got somebody to take planning off. Yeah,
Yes.
that should be okay. I'm not complaining. I was just making the point that it does come in
Yeah.
clumps rather than smoothness.
See, I was just going to comment on that because I thought that, I can't remember what to read now, but wasn't there also a desire to have more of those rolling arrangements?
Yeah, absolutely.
To make it easy.
Yeah,
Yes.
I would have thought it was
Yes, the things that are
Yeah.
happening every year will.
that's a very fair
I
point.
just think it's worth doing a year of the new system,
Yes.
then review how that goes.
Yeah, that's a very fair point. I mean,
I think the benefit of having lots at once to compare against each other is really valuable.
yeah, I think what we're you're absolutely right. I think what we're going to do is once the current council's bedded in a bit, and then we're going to discuss who we think's potentially
Yeah.
deserving of a rolling one, and then
Yes.
perhaps, vote on that at some point
Yeah,
later this
good
year.
idea. Okay, so 232408, a grant application from Top Arts Community Group for bunting and napkins for the coronation.
Can I just explain what happened with this one? So this was so downstairs we've got these box, sort of a letterbox, which I've only ever seen it used once in the entire 4 years that I've been here. But the lady put it in this last financial year. We obviously didn't see it, and that's why it's ended up
Right.
coming to us now.
Well, I suspect we would have been kindly towards it anyway, wouldn't we?
Yeah, but it's a different pot of money now. It's coming from this committee's money rather than.
Does anybody have anything to say about this application? For or against?
I support it, but I wasn't used to it, because it's at the Platinum Jubilee lunch on the 8th point, so.
Cut and pasted it.
But no, it's, yeah, I support it.
Yeah, well, in which case let them fish out the old bunting.
They're clearly planning ahead.
Well, is everybody, all those in
Yeah.
favour? Right. Approved.
Can I just ask, was there any surplus left from there was an allocation?
Yeah.
Was it in pubs and commons?
There was, I think, wasn't
So
there?
they didn't spend on
Yeah, so it's essentially
Yeah.
will come from general reserves essentially.
Yeah.
I think, to be fair, the stuff that was left over was then allocated to
To
cover
something
other
else.
costs and
That's
costs.
true
Yeah.
too.
It's not-
But it's still, it's nice.
Yeah, it's not very much.
Home First Civic Hall is doing a fire alarm clock to report.
Yes, so this came about after notified by Councillor Wilson. I think you might have spoken about this
Yeah,
as a
sometimes
trustee.
it makes it,
There have been issues with the fire alarm, the coverage of it, and not going off in the kitchen, boiler room and reception area. Certainly not guaranteed. So the Civic had got a company in to give a quote, and it was I think around £6,000, something like that, and sort of brought up with us about the possibility of having money from the parish council to cover that, and we just pointed out that the recent £30,000 grant was for ongoing work, so to take the money from there,
Yeah.
you know, and to see it as a priority really. Under the terms of the lease, the Civic is responsible for repairs, and you know, even though there is no legal requirement to have a fire alarm in place, if we think about Honley Library, where it was seen as a priority to have a working fire alarm in place right from the start.
Well, by the new managers, not by Kirklees it wasn't. They didn't have one.
Yeah. So really, we sort of more or less directed the Civic to make sure they've got it sorted, and it is being installed over. I think it's going to be installed over the next weekend, the bank holiday weekend.
I think they might be here now. I mean, there were certainly alarms going off today, so.
Right.
Did you all get your alarm yesterday on your phone?
No,
Number three.
number 3 as well.
Oh, I got it.
I don't know.
Pat, can I talk to it?
Yes, of course.
This actually raises a much bigger issue. So this is me. I was at the meeting when it was brought up. For your information, Julie stepped down as chair of trustees, so we're a very small committee now, and there was only Mark and Alex who were trustees, and me and Andy there from the parish side. There's two things. One, this project
I heard
here,
about this.
that overran by 13,000, and there was a conversation about, well, that's not our responsibility, it's the parish's responsibility because it's a parish fire exit. And then there was this issue.
It isn't a parish fire exit, it's a
Well,
civic
All I'm
fire exit.
saying is this was the conversation that took place. There's two ways of seeing it, because it's sort of our building at the end of the day and they're helping us manage it, but equally we've got a relationship with them where they're supposed to be responsible for things. But we can't have a situation where one side's almost blaming the other and saying, oh no, that's yours. You know, there needs to be a much clearer understanding and expectation. And And this because we've basically given them 30,000 for a whole list of capital works on this building to fix the fire alarm. So that means now they've only got 23,000. If this was the cricket club that we've given 5,000 for benches and they said, oh, something else has happened, we need a fire alarm, we'd say, no, you've been given 5,000 for that project. So I just think the future council need to have they need to dust off the arrangements and the understandings.
Yes, I agree.
It needs to be crystal clear where responsibilities lie.
Can we make that an agenda item?
And I'm not really apportioning blame for, but clearly this project was mismanaged by the architect, so it's become a bit of a massive liability, £30,000 liability for the Civic. And then this came out of the blue with the fire alarm. And they have got reserves, there is reserves, but equally, if you look at their projections, they're not very healthy for next year. So it just raised to me all sorts of alarm bells about, I can see Rachel's nodding at that. It is a problem, isn't it, really, about where we draw the lines.
Well, and it's a problem to be losing Judith at this point. I mean, are they looking to replace her?
Well, they're trying to find new trustees, and there's a meeting next week. There was one potential trustee came to the last meeting. But I think after the election, we need to, obviously we'll be sending a couple of people, but we need to be aware they've got challenges ahead, really.
Because she wasn't just chair of the trustees, she was the senior manager.
Yeah.
And that's a very critical role. I mean, these can't just run amok with people managing, doing their best in bits and pieces. We have to have a manager for that.
So there's not really an action on that, there's nobody's got anything, but I just think, unless we do want to make an action, that I think the new committee the new council needs to be advised to look at that relationship. I suppose
We need probably to have it, and a couple of the council and a couple of the trustees need to get together and talk as well. I mean, maybe each side may want to think in advance what their position is, but to negotiate the terms that we work under with them. We don't want it to be a them and us. I don't mean some sort of confrontational negotiation. I just mean us to have a think about what we want and them to have a think about what they can manage. And the two of us to meet. Jen?
I think perhaps when at the annual meeting the representatives to be on the Home First Civic Hall Community Trust are decided by the council, perhaps after that, but whoever's appointed as representatives need to have, first of all, a meeting with myself to look at the lease, because that's where the clarity is, really. And
if it is
brief them on things that have happened so far,
yes,
so that they feel better equipped to ask the questions they need to be asking. Does that make sense?
yeah. And I think also to look at the lease and not be too harsh. If with a brand new manager it looks a bit difficult for them to fulfil their part of the lease, we need to be able to think, well, short term we could do this, or maybe that would be easier if, to look at making it easier. They are managing an impossible task in this building. I mean, so it's trying to help them to do it as well as they can, rather than just say, no, that's your responsibility. Councillor Hodley.
Yeah, I was just going to comment. I think you're right that the role that Judith Patrick plays was really pivotal. She should have done that in an unpaid capacity. She offered that oversight because when Liz and Dawn were brought in, Parish did sort of provide the start-up costs for getting those roles up and running, which way they can then tell themselves where the income generated. But there's kind of the income generated for business as usual, but then there's all these capital projects, and actually it's a lot to cover.
And I mean, I gather that Dawn was left trying to project manage this, which is possibly part of the reason it went so far over, because that's not her skill set.
Because I think I'm conscious I mean, I didn't notice that was there until the other week, and then I sort of think, well, how would you know that was even a fire exit when you're sitting where there's sort of extra things you think, well, surely there should be a little fire exit.
There should be a sign somewhere visible, yeah.
And I
Probably
suppose,
facing that way rather than this way.
and there's those kind of
Illuminate,
extra
yeah.
things that we might have ticked the box of saying we've got a fire exit, but if no one knows the
And there should be a sign downstairs for the hall immediately below is saying there's a fire escape up here.
Yeah, so I think there's sort of extra bits that need that kind of strategic oversight, which is quite difficult if there isn't that role. And I just hope they can find someone, you know, with the sort of level of experience that Judith has.
I mean, to get something, well, she was a godsend because she worked for the National Trust, didn't she, or
Yeah.
English Heritage, or one of the two. So she's a real expert. So we're not likely to get that expertise again, I wouldn't think.
But I think certainly going through the lease and things is important, so everyone's absolutely clear again, because again you get that turnover of councillors, turnover of trustees, and suddenly you've got no one who's here, right, you know.
Yes. Excuse me. Okay, now we move on to kind of the raft of papers you've been sent and noting and considering. The first one's number 9, accounts for payment. They're all fairly self-explanatory. The chairman's come in under budget, and we need to note that and to note the completed schedule of payments. You want to speak or note?
To speak.
To speak, sorry.
Okay. So on the first one, it's in respect of the chairman's expenses, and it was just something that myself and Doug's has been made aware of, and maybe other people have seen it on Facebook as well, which is Richie Howarth is looking to set up a Home Firth-based man school, like Andy's man school, and so they were looking for funding, and I don't think they need a particular lot of money, do they? And Doug's is looking to help out as the anchor, but it occurred to me that there's money left in the chairman's allowances that he can give quite simply and quite quickly if he chose to do so. It's not a lot of money, and I think the lady's been in touch with you actually, Doug, about how much it might be.
Yep. Well, actually, I've been mentioned that today. Actually, work
So are you suggesting we email?
Well, it might just be just a bit of.
It's quite easy to do because, but I know you'd suggested they come to the meeting, and I'd said, well, because I thought I hadn't really realised, I thought there was a route to get them some funding via this route. It'd be relatively easy to do because they're a brand new organisation. They're not even an organisation; they're a group of people that are meeting in a cafe to talk about men's mental health needs. It will almost certainly grow into an organisation. So they have got some initial costs, and they are fundraising locally. And at the moment, that's going into the account of the business that I now run, the charitable business that I run. So we're holding the money for them. So if the chair was minded to do that,
it isn't, well, it's
we've got
Jason,
faith
isn't it?
on it.
It's the retiring chair
It is,
that will make
it
this
is.
decision.
I think when we moved from chairman's allowance levels to chairman's expenses, one of the reasons for doing that was because previously some chairs had chosen to allocate some of their allowance, if you like, on charitable donations. And then I thought that, I may be mistaken, that by moving to expenses we were just paying for legitimate costs that were incurred rather than allowing them to give out charitable donations.
I think
But
you're right.
I mean, I may be right. I'm not saying it's not a worthy.
No, I think you're right, but we allocated a budget to it.
But I think the other thing I just thought was, whilst it says at year end, there was that remaining, that's presumably all then washed into general reserve, so I'd just be grateful.
But if you are right, it isn't Jason's decision. It'll go into general reserves.
But I may be remembering wrong.
I'm almost sure you're right.
Yes, I think so too, but I'd have to have a look. I know, Jason did come in to see us the other day, and he was asking about giving to charity. He wanted to give it because obviously his mum's died from dementia recently, and he was wanting to give
Has
it.
she died?
Yes, she
Yeah.
died. He was wanting to give it to a dementia charity. Me and Jen were, how would you say? we were
aware of the things that Councillor Hockley's just said. We were aware of, and therefore, particularly given that account is closed, if you like, because we're past the 31st, and there was no motion to approve it. We felt it was a very grey area.
Oh, well, if I may, it's possibly too late for Councillor Brooke, but it will be possible for the incoming chair. It's whether or not it's permissible to use the chair's expenses in that
Well,
way.
if they are expenses, not an allowance, then the answer
Well,
must surely be no.
And why aren't they just applying for a grant?
Well,
Because they're not constituted.
because it's only just looking for some money, but equally because we've got our grant round, so Doug's, I think, is helping and we get established and we'll be looking for grants in the future.
But
This is
I'm
more
sure
about
we'd be willing to consider them out of
Well,
out of
the
time.
point about it is if it's at the chairman's discretion, that the chair can give the money very quickly, just if you like,
No, but I
on a
think
whim and
we-
account for it, as opposed to.
We've established that it isn't at the chair's discretion.
Have we established that?
I think we had.
I think that was the whole point of why we resolved to change it to from allowance to expenses was precisely for that reason.
And there was a sum allocated simply for our budgeting purposes, not for using, if you like. So it probably isn't at the chair's discretion.
Yeah, one of the things from the internal audit is that we do need a chairman's expenses policy,
Yeah.
which we don't have. I think in the absence of having that, given that, you know, we've sort of knocked back Councillor Brooks' request about, my personal advice would be to find a different avenue for funding this, and maybe put a grant application together for the annual council meeting.
So just to be clear, if there is no policy, what's the intent in changing it from councillors' chairman's allowance to chairman's expenses? Maybe to limit it, there is no such limit in place. So it could happen, but you're right, it'd be better if there were a policy to clarify what we do.
And I think we would need to be very careful here. If the existing chair for whom this budget was created does not wish to give it to the charity you're talking about, but to a different one, then we can't really say, well, sorry, we're taking what's left of your budget and giving it to a charity you don't want to give it to.
Yeah, which is what I said, it's at the chair's discretion, it's their choice to do with it as they want, but we've got an incoming chair as well, so there's perhaps two bites of the chair,
But I think we've already taken it away from the chair's discretion by telling him he can't have it for dementia.
yeah, I'm not so sure that that's actually a set policy of the council,
Right.
because there isn't a policy, all there is a change in terminology, which may imply an intention to create that policy, but there is no, as Jan said, there is no policy. And the practice of the council in the past has been that it has been perfectly acceptable to make grants.
Not
So
for a
charity
number of
grant.
years though.
No, we
Oh
have
no,
to.
seriously, not for a number of years.
Rachel's.
But that's the chair's discretion. So if those chairs haven't chosen to do it,
No, but it hasn't been made available to them. We haven't been able to just give it these.
Rachel had to come to full council to get the money she had not spent
Transferred to a different
transferred
item.
to the panorama.
Yeah, but that's not giving it to an external.
Yeah, that was which was directly for the valley, for the whole valley, from the council.
I mean,
Because I know in the
I don't know
past,
why that
chairs.
mechanism was there, because in the past it has
we're in
just
a new
been
year
simply
anyway now,
chairs.
so
Discretion.
that money has gone. Anyway, last year's money's gone. So I don't see why we're not going down the grant route rather than.
Get
Well,
them
it's
to
just,
make a
it's
grant
about
application.
getting something.
And we'll consider them out
Yeah,
of.
but I don't think there's an urgency in this case at the moment, because they're actually raising a fair bit of money and there's other money coming in already. So I think they're over that initial hurdle, I think. But it would be useful to know what I assumed that we weren't doing it that way anymore, because I know that Kirklees comes like the Mayor's Charity, don't they? They raise money specifically for that, and then that
Well, yeah.
And they raise the
Yeah.
money, they don't spend it.
Yeah.
I mean, they spend it when they've raised it. Okay. Otherwise, are you happy to note that the chairman's expenditure and the completed schedule of payments?
Yeah, but there is, so just to pick up on it, there is a bit about, it would be helpful then to have a clear policy in
Yeah.
terms of
That's already been put up.
Yeah, that's already been written down. And then are we happy to approve the month-to-date schedule of payments for April?
Can I just ask one quick question about that? Only because I think in the list it kept saying another payment for the topograph, and I just wondered if you wanted to, maybe it's too late, make it clearer what it was for.
I'm very limited with it. I only get sort of 20 letters to say anything, so I don't. It's
Maybe you don't think it matters. But
no, it doesn't matter because it's on the paper copy.
okay.
The people who are going to reimburse you will know what it's for. So.
Yeah. Okay. I was just conscious it's sort of, I can't find the page, but it just kept saying another bit.
So
It's like they were resolved
And another
different
payment.
conditions.
I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
Right, that's fine.
I'm not.
Alright, that's fine.
Which brings us up to number 10, financial statements.
No, you need to approve the. There's only a.
Oh, sorry.
You
All
do
those
need
in-
to approve the 2 payments to Councillor Hogley that she's talking about.
Right,
Which are in yellow on G.
right. Do we approve the payments to
Do you want to
council?
say, what they are now, Councillor? You can do. Payment
Yeah,
and
just
additional
trying to get the
payment.
right. Yeah, basically this was because when we got the planning permission, there was a condition that Peak District National Park had to approve the exact wording that was going on it. And I submitted that eventually once I'd navigated the system. And it makes you calculate the sum, and I didn't calculate it correctly. So I paid £34, it went in the system, and then I got an email back the next day saying you need to pay an extra £24 because you've not put it in the right box. So that's why it's 2. So it's payments connected to the basically discharging the planning condition.
I'm happy to move that.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, financial statements. To note, first, January 2023. Noted?
Yep.
Noted. February 2023. Noted?
Yep.
March 2023. Noted?
Yeah.
Yep.
Right. Then we're on to income expenditure by budget heading.
Do you want me to report on this?
Yes,
It's
please.
all fairly obvious, I suppose.
I thought it was pretty clear in the bucket.
Yeah. What
Sorry.
needs to be said? Yeah, I suppose it is fairly clear. I suppose the few things to pick out, which perhaps we were probably only became clear at the end of the year. For example, like the Honley Library, that one ended up quite a lot over budget because we all awarded the grants of the 10,000 and 15,000, but then we got these legal bills as well, so that pot ended 5,000 over, which is obviously going to come from general reserves, which we weren't anticipating really. One thing about, we were struggling with the office expenditure, our expenses, just by myself and Jen printing a lot more in black and white. It has come down incredibly, hasn't it, Jen? By an amazing amount, which makes you wonder why we didn't figure this out before. Yeah, most of that is fairly obvious.
I must say, the Gartside building is good news. It's all looking very, very positive, isn't it?
Yeah, we're trying to get them because it's going to be a shop again.
Which will be nice for them.
And we're trying to sort out there's various building control things that we're still sorting out. But yeah, he seems like a good sort. He's always on time with his payments. He always responds to emails quickly. So
Great.
it's great stuff. Earmark reserves is all fairly obvious. I don't think anything especially needs mentioning there.
I've got a query.
Okay.
There's a reserve for the defibrillator, a special reserve. What's the process to access some of that money?
Good question, Olive. I mean, a few people have asked us about it, but nobody's ever actually followed through with anything, have they?
The one in Holly is broken,
Oh, right, okay.
it's been taken down.
By who?
Holly Business Association, I assume.
Yeah, I do.
Oh, okay.
There was either a problem with the, she said there was a problem with the door or the electricity supply, I'm not entirely sure which, but the net result of it is it's been absent for some period of time, and it wasn't until somebody posted up that it had been stolen that we got to the bottom of the fact that it had been removed.
Okay.
And it had been helpful to have told everybody that it had
Yes.
been removed and why it had been removed, but then to discover that it's sat in somebody's kitchen because they're not sure how to get it fixed or how to pay for it.
But we own it, don't we? Not Holly, or do Holly Business Association own it?
Home Business Association say that they own it.
I don't think they own any.
Cricket club, he went up on the cricket club's wall and as you know, the cricket club were pondering whether or not it was theirs because of how it was put up and how it was funded, so that it was their responsibility. So cricket club are happy if Home Business Association put that, they're quite happy to leave it to them to deal with. But the problem with it is they're not dealing with it with the kind of haste you would expect.
Yeah.
That appears to be the funding for it, hence the question.
Okay.
How do we access it?
I presume it's applying to service provision because the budget line is still under them. Although
Service provision, okay, so we don't need grants and everything like that, we can just put a
Well,
rational.
maybe service provision on May the 7th or 8th or whenever can write to Holly Business Association saying, oh, what you're doing with the defibrillator. Then we haven't got, it won't be shown, so whoever it is, can we make a note of it? Jen?
Yeah, maybe we need to just review what defibs we have funded. I think they probably need servicing anyway,
Well,
which is another
Yes,
part.
are they
yeah,
being
the
served?
question is who in the community is
Yeah,
monitoring them, you're right.
yeah, so
And when we give these grants, we now know, we need to say, and who's responsible for servicing, how frequently it needs to happen.
I think it's all done by the one company that installed them.
You'd hope so, wouldn't you?
Yes,
Rather than just shove them up
Yeah.
and then.
but what I would say is if we know that it's service provision on the 5th of June, there was going to be an application to consider, perhaps you take down your council releasing the money from that
In advance.
EMR. Yes, so that service provision can spend
But
it.
do we know we're going to
Yes,
receive, do
we are
we
gonna
know
get
we're going to get an application for a grant? I mean,
Well, it's not an application for a grant, is it?
I don't think there is a bespoke way.
no, but what I mean is, our Homley Business Association forgetting that they need to get a move on and get some money and get it sorted, or are they just going to sit on it?
Well, again, after tonight, I'll be getting in touch with
You'll
you
get it.
to tell her that she needs to write into council, so.
Yeah.
And I'll ask her to do it promptly, but there could be other ones, I don't know.
I thought the parish council didn't own any, it's just wasn't it the League of Friends or something from because Councillor Roberts used to talk about the fact they were all part funded by them, and then we more recently, I think we contributed to one or two others. But I remember, I know I'm not in service provision, and you probably know far better than I do, Sean, but I remember there was, people were asking where's the list of where they all are, but I don't think we ever took any sense of ownership over any of them, be it ongoing maintenance
I think it was
costs.
grants, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's
to-
just
to
a bespoke
buy
grant
those
that
two.
came
Yeah,
in.
I think they're proper mixed bag of how they've come about as to who's funded them. But you're right, as far as I'm aware, it's the people, the people who've taken it on in different places, kind of.
So we just need to
But
be
it would be
careful
good to-
setting expectation
Yeah,
that we're going to take on maintenance. I mean, maybe that might be the right thing to do, but
Yeah, and for future grants, we need to make it part of the grants that we know who's responsible.
But it would be really helpful to know what the maintenance arrangements are, what that process
Yeah.
is, because it goes back to the bit of, there may be some organisation that does it, but they don't have a bloody clue where we've stuck them all.
Yeah.
So there could be somebody wandering around Jagger Lane trying to figure out where the hell that unit has been for the last 5 years, because nobody's told them it's on,
Was it the guy who installed the original CCTV system.
I think
Bill-
it's some
Bill
bits
O'Brien,
to do
was
with
it?
it. Yeah, 'cause Bill were working with
Right,
Elf
okay.
as well, wasn't he?
But he's obviously gone, hasn't he? I mean, Trevor and Kath have got one outside there.
Yeah, but Rachel's right. The League of Friends was instrumental in a fair bit of it, but I think we've got our budget for DFIBs, and I think it's a case of we've got quite a few units out, and it is that bit perhaps of
Okay.
if the bit maybe we should take on is making sure that there's
Yes.
something in place
Coordinate
to make
it.
sure that
To coordinate the
Not a word.
maintenance. Jen?
yeah.
I'll do a report, sort of just showing what the issues are and
Yeah.
the scale of it, so we do know. I'll do something along those lines. But I do think for annual, if we know a grant
There will be
request is
some-
coming,
Yeah.
then for the
There will be some
annual
coming out
council,
on
I'll
top.
put on about a motion to release some money.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the expectation.
Okay, any further queries on earmarked reserves? Okay, so are we noted? Yes, we are. Are they noted? Tenancies, well, we've talked about Gartside, and there's the usual late
Yeah, I
garage.
wonder if any of you, I wonder if you Honolulu people know who this person is. He lives in Thurston House.
Yeah, I
His
know.
name's Beardsall.
Yeah.
We've only got an address, you see, one. We don't have a phone number, we don't have an email address. So I've written him a few
Yeah.
letters, but
Yeah, well, it's lived there for ever and a day. He rents 2 of the garages, and has done for a hell of a long time. He owns the house and that yard opposite. He knows they're not his. He knows he's got his rent to pay. He's knocking on a bit now.
yeah, that's what I'm saying to Jen. We don't know whether when these people are ill or die or whatever.
Yeah, well, Norm's changed at the house. He's got 2 kids at school with me.
Okay.
But they don't, I don't know where they're living. But, I don't know what to say other
Okay,
than maybe go and knock on the door, but it's,
We'll give him a few weeks. He doesn't have a checkbook. The bank basically the bank writes us a check. So the whole process must be
as
convoluted.
convoluted as possible, yeah.
yeah. So maybe we'll give him a couple of weeks and then I'll maybe knock on his door.
Okay, do you know what his first name is? Because I can't remember what it is.
I don't. It would be easy for me to look it up, but I don't.
It used to do something like game and poultry at shows and fairs and something like that. Just wondered if you
But he's been late the last 3 years, if not the last 4 years. So I suppose it's out of the ordinary. But it is doing quick.
No, nothing's popping up from
Okay, internal control check. When is the internal auditor's visit?
Well, we haven't booked it yet. It basically comes after. She comes before the AGAR council, which is in June, I think. So sometime in May it'll be.
So we'll need somebody, the vice chair of this committee in the new council.
Well, I mean, Councillor Carey can do it now if he wants. The Councillor Carey can do it in the next few weeks, or
Would
we
you
can
be
leave
willing?
it for.
Are you automatically? Are you being contested?
I'm have to be. I'd have to do it before the election, wouldn't I? Because after the election, if I'm not elected, then
Are you able to do that, Doug?
I'll struggle, to be honest. When's the election's on what day? I know I'm absolutely solid this week.
Well, if you can't be Charles, you are I think the only person in this room who will be here next year that we know for certain. Would you be willing to do this?
To do what?
Point 12.
Internal control checks, the last quarter.
It
I've
takes,
done it once. It takes
about
half
an
an
hour
an hour. Yeah, it's not a big job. But
When does it need to be done?
in the next month or so.
Okay, yeah, that'd be fine.
Is it just who and where?
You come here, you're basically just checking the money that goes out and comes in against bank statements, making sure that everything balances, that there aren't any suspicious looking payments or...
Well, I'm happy
James
to,
Cruz.
if elected, I'm happy to do it. So if I'm elected, I can do it before, I'm going to do it before election day. You just need it done, when's your order to come in?
it's not booked in yet.
May, sometime in May.
Right.
So it does need doing pretty, I mean, the sooner we get it done, the better. It'll be simpler if Charles is able to do it, for him to do it, and then that's a job tidied up and ticked, and we don't then... Otherwise, Richard's going to be ringing round on May the 7th, trying to find somebody to do it.
Well,
Thank you, Charles.
yeah, it's either, can you do it, you can't do it this week, can you do it week after? If not, I can. I'm just looking at it.
I'll let Charles do it for you.
Well, it's,
Doug's let Charles do it. He'll soon be back in the, you know, if you are elected, you'll be doing it again the next time.
I could possibly do it on Wednesday the 3rd.
Are you in on Wednesdays?
Not normally on Wednesdays.
So that won't do.
right, Tuesday the 2nd.
Birthday.
Oh, what a finer treat could it?
Well, if Rich provides you with a glass of champagne with it.
Is that before or after?
I'm sure that would be for me. Just let Charles do it.
Let Charles do it, Doug's.
I'll leave it to the rest of the committee to decide.
Charles, thank you. I'm going to make a chairman's ruling here. Thank you, Charles, for offering, and thank you, and we'd like you to do it before Rich and you can liaise about when
That's great.
the deadline. Thank you. 13, banking is just to note.
Yeah, unfortunately, Councillor Black not coming today has kind of messed that up, so I need her to sign as the chair of the committee where it was resolved. So I need to get her to come down, and we need to go up to her to get it signed and sent off.
The financial records are on the website. And then publicising, is there anything in particular in this meeting that we would wish? Do we want to make a thing about coronation celebrations that we've funded? Other than not just the one we've talked about,
Yep, we can do that.
but a special little posting of
Yep,
these people are having a party and those people are having a party. And
yep, why not?
Yeah, I think so, actually, yeah.
Because we also thought there was quite a, well, there's the Clifford.
Yeah, Cliff Wreck.
There was a bigger one.
Holly-
There's
Holly
lots
Wood,
of
yeah.
nice range of things.
Yeah,
Just
And
like
the
around,
Holly
looking forward
Tea
to the
Park.
coronation and lots of activities happening.
yeah, there's a couple of £1,000 gone, hasn't there?
yeah,
So-
only there's quite a big couple of, they're having 2 shifts of tea in the village hall in Holly on the day.
They used a nice logo that's suddenly popping up everywhere.
You haven't seen it.
All right, okay.
I am rather being a bit like this about it all. See one coronation, you've seen them all.
So looking back to Edward
I've
VIII.
seen one. And the only thing worth waiting for is Zadok the priest. When they do Zadok the priest, it is the most fantastic bit of music. And it happens in Westminster Abbey, and it builds up to it builds up for a long, long,
You're
long
still
time.
not getting mixed up with Star Wars, or...
It's by hand.
Lord of the Rings.
Or was it... Is it Flash Gordon's outside of
It's the most wonderful piece of music that was composed for a
Yeah, what
coronation
is
and has
it?
been
It
played
is something like that in
every coronation
Flash
since.
Gordon, isn't it?
And it's the only bit of the coronation was, well, I mean, when I was a little girl. I
And
thought-
can you seriously remember that from...
Yes.
Remember it, 52?
53.
You remember it?
People did because there weren't any tellies.
We watched it on next door's television. We didn't have a television. We did what many people in
We were happy.
a hell of a lot of people did in Britain, that they watched it
So it's like
on
Rumble.
somebody else's television, and then we went out and bought one ourselves because it was so fantastic. And I think
That's 6 inch
television
screen.
sales, the Queen did more for television sales than any World Cup ever has. But yeah, And the music, and I mean, I've heard it other than during the coronation, it does get played.
You're not going to hum it then?
But you can't, it requires a choir of about
The
8,000
ceremonial
people.
That's like,
last
Yeah.
5
They do it after he's crowned and stuff. It's after they've done God Save the King, God Save the King. I think they do Zadok the priest.
To listen out for it.
It's fabulous. Right, thank you everybody.
Closing not signed the
I should say, as Mary did at planning, thank you all. I mean, this is our last meeting, and I just want to thank you all. It's been a really well-functioning committee, I think. We've run smoothly, we've got through stuff, we've got our new ways of doing things sorted, and generally it's been a pleasure chairing it, so thank you all very much.
thank you for sharing.
I've turned the socket off.
I think this is our last period, this last year of the council city.
It's been,
It's got better over time.
Yeah.
I guess my reflection is that somebody who joined, well, nearly joined at the start of the new year. There seems to be a lot of storming and forming, shall we say, really.
It was 2 years of COVID as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
yes, 2 years of not actually having to see each other properly. Rather like marriage, if you can be separate quite a lot, you've got a better chance of making it work.
And also, in the first 2 years of this council, we bogged down in discipline type things and format from
Yes.
previous
And in
years.
particular, I think for grants, going through the rigmarole, not just every single year, not just every single meeting, but every single grant request, is determining whether or not the purpose of the council is to support community activity.
Yeah.
It's a bit tiresome.
Yes.
14 years.
That did go on at every single meeting.
I seem to move on to recognising spending money.
I always just got a lot of affection for him, but honestly, there was a bit where I always thought, if you push it to its logical conclusion, the answer is to just disband the parish
Yeah, get rid
council
of the parish
completely,
Yeah.
not take the parish priesthood, meet in a postcard across the road and just complain about stuff. That's the logical explanation.
They were, I always got the impression with the ones that spoke up to say we shouldn't, and you know, that thing about don't publicise it, they'll all be applied.
It's never been the case. I've heard that again since it's never really been the case.
Yeah.
All that's happened is, I suppose.
But I think they wanted to just have enough money to have a clerk and be able to meet and talk and not do anything else. I mean, they were lumbered with this, so they had to raise, you know, they had to sort this building. But
But the
That
other
was a nice thing.
the other one is the other
That
one
was
that always
before
just
my
makes
time.
joke is if they've got a bar, they can raise all the money they want
Yes.
and that'll pay for everything. And what if they don't have a bar? Well, they need to have a bar.
yes, it has changed a lot in turn over the 4 years I've been
And
councillor.
just imagine if we get the press headlines, which is Home Valley, the books the trend in pub and bar closures with hundreds of new bars open every single year. Kids table tennis club and bar.
Underage football.
yeah, and bar, yeah.
I forgot to mention you in thanking everybody.
That's all right.
You run this
I
committee.
took it, I was included anyway.
Yes, you were, but I should have singled you out.